The past haunts us all, whether it be a person, place, or thing. We are reluctant to let go. We call to the dead out of desperation and intrigue, searching for answers about what lies behind the shadows. We are paranormal researchers. We are Necromancers. Hello and welcome to the Necromancer Live Show. I am your host, Justin Brown, and this is episode number 24 with Wes King of Entity Voices Paranormal. This guy's a very interesting cat. He has a lot to do in the EVP and ITC research field, and he is pretty much perfect guy to talk to on this show because we specifically, concentrate on the ITC and EVP research field in general, but we stray, off topic here and there, but we got some guy that's all he does basically is this stuff. So without further ado, we're going to bring him over to the show and we're going to introduce him. What's up, Wes? What's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thanks for asking. I had a little bit of a back issue earlier this week. I'm on muscle relaxers though, and my 5-year-old threw up at school today, but that's about it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've been battling kidney stones for the past couple weeks, so I do know what the pain issues are
Oh,
about.
that's about the worst as it gets, man. That's pretty bad. But thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
yeah, I appreciate you having me.
we'll have a pretty cool conversation. I checked out your website. By the way, all the links to Wes's website, his YouTube channel, it's in the cards and in the description. His Facebook, social media, everything is there. So please give him a look at, subscribe to his channel. I want to say that from the beginning. But as I was reading the website you have up, and you have a little bit of a bio that explains how the reason why you do what you do, and in the beginning you
Right,
didn't believe in this stuff. Is that right?
right, right. I actually, it's funny because hindsight is 2020. Now that I'm into the paranormal and I pretty much live, eat, breathe, and sleep it. Um, I can remember having paranormal experiences as a kid, really realizing that's what was happening.
Like
But
what kind of stuff would happen?
I would see things or have I had a couple of paranormal experiences where I would see like shadow figures. Um, but I just kind of kicked it off to just hey, it was a shadow. I mean, the paranormal wasn't a reality to me when I was a boy or anything like that. And yeah, I'm an empath as well, and a sensitive, and I've always had really strong intuition, and I would have premonitions and dreams and things of that nature. And I've just okay, like for one example, when I was 17 years old, I was living with my grandmother in San Diego because that's where I graduated high school from, and my step grandfather passed away. And ghosts weren't, or I would, as it says in my bio, I would have laughed at you if you'd have told me ghosts were real.
Right.
And when Wally, my step grandfather, passed away, he was a very evil man. I will say that. I did not like him, and he did not like me. And he died a slow and painful death. And let's just say karma bit his ass in the end. Okay, for some things that he did during his life that I'm not even going to speak of, just because it's that evil and vile. But when he died that slow and painful death, when he passed away, I was actually living in the same house that he had been living in for the last 40 years of his life. And what was my room at the time? And I was watching TV. I'll never forget it. I was watching Baywatch. I was 17 years old, so this was like 95, maybe 94. something like that. And it was about 8 o'clock at night. He had just passed away maybe 4 hours prior to this. And I actually didn't shed a tear. Everybody else in my family was sad, but I was like glad he was gone. I was like, good riddance, dude. Anyways, as I'm sitting there in my room by myself, watch, the TV remote control is on the nightstand about 3 feet away from me, and the TV just shuts off all by itself. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, something's up. That's just an electrical issue. I I make sure that I didn't bump the remote control. I look over at the nightstand and I see the remote control 3 feet away from me, and I'm like, all right, yeah, okay, it's got to be an electrical issue. I walk over to the TV button, I turn it back on, and no sooner than 20 seconds later, it does it again. And I thought to myself, you know what? This is just. I remember looking over at the remote control and looking over at the TV, and I was just like, okay. So I turned it back on because I was trying to look at Pamela Anderson's boobs. And anyways, the TV shuts back off for a third time. Like, dumbfounded by it. But at the same time, I was just like, you know what? I didn't know how to explain it. There was no rational explanation for it. That's the one paranormal experience that sticks out in my mind. I know it was him fucking with me, basically. I actually remember he had this rare form of Lou Gehrig's disease. It was to the point where his mind was there, but no motor function whatsoever. It would take this man 4 hours to eat a bowl of grits. Seriously. And I remember whispering in his ear one time because I'm a changed man now, but I was pretty evil when I was, I'll say. I mean, if you'd have known me back then, you would have hated me. I mean, if I could go back in time, I'd kick my own ass. But I remember whispering in his ear, I told him, I said, your time is coming, old man, and you're going to get what you deserve. Because of the things that he did to my aunt, which I won't speak of. That was, I guess, his way of getting back at me, trying to scare me. Yeah, that's one paranormal experience that I can remember having, looking back in hindsight, because I know it was him. It was an earthbound spirit. I felt his presence in that house from that point on, even though I didn't believe in ghosts. I was just, it was just a whole different feeling about the house after he passed away.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've had the TV do things that it shouldn't do. Not only has it turned on and turned off by itself, but it's changed channels and adjusted the volume up and down as well. And
Right.
you always wonder, you know, I even looked into, how remotes work and how the IR sensor works. How, you always think, well, is it a signal coming from somewhere? Well, here's how it works. The infrared light bulb on the remote is programmed to blink in a binary code that's programmed and registered by the TV. And each code
Right.
corresponds with turn off, turn on, volume up, so on and so forth. So even if it had a random signal, what's the chances of it being the same binary code that instructs it to do what it just did?
Right.
And
Right.
the whole theory behind ghosts, not only being, detected or existing in an infrared spectrum, maybe they can see the blinking of the remotes and learn the codes and the blinking and simulate it somehow, or maybe their energy just messes with the IR sensor. You just kind of, my mind starts to wonder about those things.
Well, I mean, look at smartphones. Look at all the sensors that are in smartphones that they're able to manipulate. I mean, a lot of ITC apps that are 100% legit utilize sensors. Well, one app developer, his name is, he's a good friend of mine, Ricky Van Brackle, last name correctly. He goes by VBE Inc. utilizes a lot of sensors in his apps, like the geo sensor, and of course the EMF, the compass for EMF. And he writes some amazing code. His apps are amazing. Like, he's got some really good ones, man. He just released one that's called Paranormal Paraphrase, I believe, that nature. And there's two versions of it. There's a geo version and there's an EMF version. And basically, you type in a question, and then based on an EMF fluctuation, it gives you an answer. Amazing results. I mean, and you can
Kind of
set
like
it
the
to
Ovilus, right?
screenshot. Huh?
Kind of like the Ovilus.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like more like a paranormal puck
Mm-hmm.
type app. Yeah, but same premise as the Ovilus for sure. I would say it's definitely the closest you're going to get to a paranormal puck too. Anyway,
Interesting, man.
puck.
So let's lead into the experience you had, which is, something that the viewers are probably want to hear about if they don't know the story. Talk about a
Oh yeah.
little bit about the profound experience you had that pretty much propelled you into the paranormal world.
All right. Okay. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And even my wife, she she she's not into the paranormal at all. And it even trips her out because she hears the same stories from other people, and it's all the same thing. All the people all describe the exact same thing. I'll never forget it. I was parents at the time. I think I was 22, 3 years old, and I was living with them for a short period of time, there for maybe 6 months. And I was in my bed asleep. It's approximately 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was deep in REM sleep. I mean, I was sawing logs, man. And next thing I know, I go from being in. I remember I was having a dream, like a lucid dream, because most of the time I don't remember my dreams. I don't. And I was having a lucid dream that I remember. And the very next thing that I know, my eyes were rolling back in my head, breathe at all. And the closest thing that I can describe it, it was almost as if something, it had me pinned down on the bed. Okay, it felt like it had me by my soul, not by my shoulders, my outer extremities or bones or anything like that. It felt like it reached inside my body and grabbed me by my soul and was violently me up and down off of my mattress. It didn't have me around my throat. It was more like in the shoulder area, but on the inside of my body. And I was literally like I had to have been bouncing 6 inches high off this mattress like an eternity. Like, it really did. I mean, it felt like it lasted for 2 or 3 minutes, but in reality, it was probably only about 20 seconds. It's 20 seconds I've ever experienced in my life, besides my daughter passing away.
I'm sorry
Um,
to hear about that.
yeah, oh, I appreciate that, man. But when that happened, I remember I wasn't able to scream out. I tried screaming out for my mom and my dad, which, I mean, I was a grown man at that point. Who screams out for their mom or their dad, and they're a grown man. That's how scared I was, and I could not scream. I could not talk. It took my voice from me, like 100%. I could not see. My eyes were rolling back in my head. And when it finally released me, it was like this jolt of energy. It was like an electrical surge. I jumped up off the bed like a ninja and was only like literally like I could be where I was in my bed and literally reach up and flick the light on like that.
Uh-oh, we lost signal, Wes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, my sister-in-law is trying to get a hold of my wife.
Oh, okay.
anyways, so I jump up and I flick the light on, and nothing is there. Absolutely nothing. I didn't see anything, sensed something. I definitely sensed something in the room. I felt as if I was not alone, and whatever it was not nice. And at that point in my life, I was an atheist, and I didn't believe in God at all. I had no deity. Um, and I actually, the only thing that got that thing off me, even being an atheist, I guess that saying is true. There are no atheists in foxholes.
It's very true.
I actually got to mutter the words in the Jesus name. The second I said Jesus is when it released me. And you'd think that that would have brought me to God at that point, even though it didn't. It took me a while. But that's what started my paranormal journey, because I tried to rationalize it. I looked into sleep apnea. I looked into seizures. Definitely wasn't a seizure, because I wouldn't have been able to just jump up and turn on the light if it was a seizure.
Right.
A seizure in my life. And it definitely wasn't sleep apnea. I mean, who gets bounced up, off their mattress 6 inches high, like violently? I mean, that doesn't explain it either.
Mm-hmm.
That's what started my paranormal journey, and ever since then, I wanted answers. And I knew there was something else that it shifted my entire reality to the point where I was like, thing going on here that I never knew existed. And from that point on, I've never been the same.
That's very understandable. Real quick, I have a question in chat for you, Wes. Can you
What's
read
up?
the app that you were talking about before that you highly recommended? What was the name of the app and the developer?
It's by VBE Inc., and it's called Paranormal Paraphrase EMF, I believe.
Okay.
Let me look it up real quick. Way I can make sure I got that right.
Okay. Yeah. Someone mentioned in chat that it might have been sleep paralysis with dreaming, and that's the thing. There's a lot of people who experience sleep paralysis and have a hard time, knowing for sure if something's sleep paralysis or if something's not sleep paralysis because
Right. No, this definitely wasn't. I looked into sleep paralysis, and I honestly wanted to believe it was sleep paralysis for a long time. I really did, but it wasn't. Most definitely. Because sleep paralysis wouldn't have, been making me bounce off my mattress for 20 seconds, 6 inches high. Literally, I was doing basically jumping jacks off my
right. I don't
damn
I don't
mattress.
I've never read a case where you go into like some type of involuntary convulsion like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. It doesn't explain it at all. So, I mean, I really, trust me, at the time, I wholeheartedly wanted to believe it was sleep paralysis. I really did. It scared me that much.
I understand the experiences I've had in my life. I just sometimes I just wish, why me? Why did I have to experience that? Why do I have to explain myself to people? Why do I have to look like the weirdo and the outcast? I would
Right,
I would suffer a lot less stress not believing in all this and knowing that there's not a whole you know realm of unknown possibilities, spiritual possibilities, other types of energies, having an impact and affecting us, and possibly even being an afterlife out there. And, no one knows for sure, but it sure seems like there is. But it could
right,
just seem like there is. We just don't know for sure, and the only way to really know is to die and see for yourself.
right, exactly. I wholeheartedly agree. That's why I do a lot of research on, I read a lot of books on NDEs. And actually, the app developer that I'm talking about, Ricky, he actually recently had an NDE. He actually went to the other side and came back and told us all about it. He said that he became an orb, and it was like he was just in a land stuck of just blackness, like he didn't even exist. And somebody called him trying to do an app session with, come through, and he remembers shooting to that person's house as if there was no time. And he said everything looked like it was in HD. He said that he had a hard time seeing the phone, one of his apps, to try and communicate with him. I've seen the video. It sounds just like his voice. It's amazing. He answered her questions, and he had never even seen this girl's room before in his life, and he described the room to her to a T afterwards, and she was like, how would you even know I had a wood table in there? I mean, it was just like mind-blowing shit. But anyways,
Yeah.
the name of that app is VBE Paranormal Paraphrase EMF ITC.
Yeah, they did find it, and they thanked you for clarifying that. Let me get this straight. I've never heard of a story like that before. A guy dies, has this weird experience where he's got this disembodied type, blackness going on, and all of a sudden he hears someone call for him. He goes to them and communicates with them, and then he returns back to his body.
Actually, he returned back to the blackness. and,
And then to his body.
and it wasn't, and then, well, yeah, when he finally came back to life, yeah, yeah. Actually, you know what? I don't think that he ever flatlined. I think he was in a coma.
Oh, that would explain.
That's that. I have a theory that some of the beings that we are talking to over the ghost box, and I've had this theory for a long time, not just spirits and ghosts or aliens or whoever the hell we're talking to, but actual people who are alive that are in comas.
Oh my god.
So,
That's crazy.
yeah, yeah, I really honestly do believe that wholeheartedly, and I honestly think that we might even be communicating with living human beings in other dimensions.
Well,
I mean, it's the paranormal. Anything's possible.
that brings up an interesting question or thought when you say that, because when people ask me what I think the spirit world is like, the only way I could possibly articulate it and explain it and relate it to anything we can possibly know is the dream state when we're asleep.
Right,
So if you're in a coma
right.
and it's possible to communicate to people through EVP, ITC, or whatnot, why isn't it possible that you can communicate in the similar fashion while you're sleeping?
Right. Well, spirits also use that as a form of communicating with you. They'll come to you in dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that as well, you know. I've had spirits come to me in dreams before, and it's a trip, man. So, I mean, my dad has even had it happen to him. After my great grandfather died, my great grandfather used to come to him in dreams for the first 2 years after he died. After he had died,
That's pretty crazy.
did it? Yeah, he did it all the time.
So, once you found out that you're pretty sure that the paranormal was real, and you knew that you had a drive to understand more and to figure out more and answer some questions, what did you do in the beginning to investigate or to try to learn about it more? What did you do?
What did I do? I started to do a lot of reading, mostly, and I started watching the TV shows and just started researching it. And like, I wasn't too sure as to what I thought about the TV shows. Well, is this bullshit or is it real? That drove me to go out and buy a lot of the same equipment that they were using. And I thought, well, okay, let me go ahead and test this theory. And it's funny because very first spirit box to go ahead and prove to everyone that it was bullshit. I
Mm-hmm.
honestly really did.
I understand. So,
After about
oh, go ahead.
What's that?
I'm sorry.
After about Oh, you're cool, man. After about 2 weeks of trying to communicate through a spirit box. It was a PSB-7. Finally, it took me about 2 weeks. I was going to prove that it was bullshit. I was like, man, this is just the radio. It's just the radio. My ear wasn't tuned to it. It really wasn't. I didn't really know what I was listening for. And, I was doing all the dumb shit like, how many fingers am I holding up? And my name? Or what color is this object?
Oh, sounds like he's getting a phone call again.
Yeah, it's my sister-in-law. She lives down the street, and she just will not. She has no idea that I'm doing this show on my wife's phone, so she's probably going to keep on calling.
That's okay.
Um. Anyway, hanging up on her anyway. Anyways, like I was saying, after about 2 weeks, I finally got a message that came through that called me out by my first and last name. My jaw dropped, and I was just like, wow. I couldn't believe my ears. And that caused me to delve into it even further, and I started getting into the hacked ghost boxes, getting a 2125 one time, a Radio Shack 2125, the very first one I ever owned. And I've had this happen to me 2 times now. I guess I'd only been using the ghost boxes maybe about 3 or 4 months at this point. I had the 2125 running, and my son, he has my name. My name's Alan Wesley King. Son is Alan Wesley King III. I go by Wes. My son goes by Wesley. Knows is my son's nickname. Only my wife and myself call him Bubby. His nickname, Bubby. Okay. Anyways, I'm running this 2125, and at the time, Wesley was like 2 years old, and he was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing. And I said, Bubby, stop it. And the 2125, not as soon as I said that, my voice to a T, it sounded like my voice coming through the radio, and it said, Bubby, stop it, right after I said it. And I've actually got it on video. And I was absolutely dumbfounded. I was just like, I couldn't believe I heard that. When that happened, I was just flabbergasted. I was like, how did that happen? Like, is it a spirit mimicking me? Or is it me coming through the radio waves? Or how is that happening? There's got to be some sort of a phenomenon that explains it. We just don't know how.
Right. What do you think? I mean, with your research so far to this point, what do you think is going on with ghost boxes and stuff like that? Obviously, you think that they're a legitimate way to get some type of voice phenomena across. What's your best hypothesis when it comes to how they use it, and what's the different ways or different phenomena? Like you explained something that's not typical, like something mimicked exactly what you said with your voice. That's a little bit
Right.
different. But what's the standard hypothesis that you try to?
Okay, the standard would be they use the radio bits to actually manipulate like they do, like they would an app. Okay, an app. Basically all a spirit needs is audio that sweeps. Okay, I've proved this time and time again. If you have sweeping audio, whether it be a radio, an app, even if it's an MP3 loop that says the same thing over and over again, it doesn't have to be random, chopped up, fired 52 banks that fire all at different times. Of course, those apps are great and they work phenomenal. Basically, they're just using the bits of sounds to form or to convey their message, whether it be a one-word reply, two-word reply, a full sentence. There's fragmentative replies where it's like broken up white noise, if I'm getting that right. Tim Woolworth is actually the guy that knows all this stuff off the top of his head. I don't know if you've ever been to his website. It's itcvoices.org. You should check it out if you never have. Intelligent individual. He's an ITC researcher that's been in the ITC field for a very long time. Very highly respected individual. A lot from the guy. But that is my best hypothesis, my standard hypothesis. They're using the radio bits to form it into whatever it is. Now, say, like, I can turn on my Poltercom progeny right now. Thing about using effects, too, okay? A lot of people don't like effects. I do, okay? My progeny comes with onboard echo. Now, if I'm running that progeny at a very slow sweep with no echo on, I find myself getting just really radio bits, or just radio. Okay. Now, if I turn that echo on, something about that echo makes that very slow sweep, because a slow sweep on the progeny is actually the best. It turns that slow sweep into magic, and it actually, you can hold a two-way conversation in real time with them. I've got videos of it on my YouTube channel. I mean, it's pretty crazy stuff just by turning on echo. I believe that reverb helps. Reverb does help. I happen to like echo more. But, to each their own. That's why there's so many different tools available.
Right. When you say that they use radio bits and stuff, that is like one of the most popular, ideas out there. And I actually come up with a couple different ways to actually prove if that's, actually happening. And one of the ways early on when I started the show, I used two SB7s and I put them on, a rig, and I used a Tascam DR40, which has, the two exterior inputs.
I own that. I own the recorder.
So I just ran, the SB7 straight into the Tascam left and right, the exterior ones, and I start on the same channel and I sweep it at the same time and I sync both of them up. And what I do is I record them on separate channels. Now, if they're manipulating and using the bits and manipulating that, you will hear the manipulation on one and not the other unless it's being done in the air. If it's being done in the air before it's received by the radio, there's another way you can test it and prove it. You can take for example, an FM's transmitter. The ones they use for like Halloween props. You can kind of like speak into the microphone and it plays on the receiver. Right. Well, you can run an SB7 or whatever you want to into that, record what you're putting into it before it transmit, and record what comes out of the receiver, or the receiver, and you cross-check those. And if one is manipulated and the other one's different, then you can prove, modulation through the air. So there's actually there's actually ways you can test that, and that's one of the things I do because I offer scientific methods to prove, these hypotheses. So that's one thing that I do spend a lot of my time trying to do. But if you're ever interested in doing that, I can help you if you want to do any of that type of research.
Man, I actually own that same recorder, and I have two SB7s, so I can run that same test myself.
Yeah.
So it sounds interesting, for sure.
Yeah, it's one of the ways like I thought about. There may be other ways to do it, but I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, lately I've been getting more into the EVP. Like I was fascinated with ghost boxes. I own over 100 ghost boxes. Probably, I don't know, almost 40 hacks, and about 34 of them I've never told anybody about, because I got tired of people profiteering off of hacks that I just discovered and would share freely with people on eBay, and then price gouging the shit out of them. Just, I've got best friends on Facebook in the paranormal field that they have no idea what these models are. I just keep them to myself. I stayed so fascinated with ghost boxes for so long that I felt that I was neglecting important aspect of paranormal research, and that is EVP. And so I would have to say that for the past year and a half, that's been my primary focus, is electronic voice phenomenon. Definitely been capturing some fantastic results. Now, of course, I use two Panasonic RRDR60s. Man, I can't turn one on. I've got one right here, okay? I can't turn this bad boy on and not catch an EVP. But I have spirits all throughout my home. I have several haunted objects. I also have a spirit portal in my man cave. Literally, I can take my mobile Connect cam, go into my man cave, and say, "Show yourself." Literally, just be Zach Bagans, even though I can't stand that guy. Show yourself with the Connect cam, and literally, they will jump straight out of the same spot. And they like to jump out of this where I keep my DJ PA speaker, and they'll jump from there over to the washing machine. Either that or they'll hang out right there by the DJ PA speaker. And they always come out of the same spot. It's really, really crazy. But I like to do a lot of research with old items, haunted items, and do EVP research with it. That's been my main focus as of late. Like Dybbuk boxes, haunted dolls, rare things, like I've got a haunted scrying mirror that's like 120 years old that I paid $350 for. That was a dark black witch, and it came actually with a spell on how to conjure up a demon. So I know this mirror has been used for some very dark things. And it gives me some nasty EVPs. I don't scry with it. I've got a group called Haunted Objects and Artifacts. And I had somebody ask me today, as a matter of fact, if I ever scried with it. And I said, no. I'm going to conjure up what is in that mirror, because I know that's what would happen. I have done. If I put my EMF meter up to it, that thing buries the needle. It does. I mean, it's crazy. It sets off my REM pods. My REM pods aren't going off right now. I've got, I don't know, several REM pods on. I've got, I keep a lot of my stuff on just because it random times, and if you look at my YouTube channel, you will see a lot of those types of videos that I've been making as of late. Like, I'll just be chilling on my bed, especially with these kidney stones as of late in the past couple weeks, and I'll be watching TV, and all of a sudden a REM pod will start going off, and I'm like, wow, okay, I'll break out my camera phone and start videoing it, and start asking questions, break out an EVP recorder, catch some EVPs. Just things of that nature. Now, granted, my videos suck as far as the editing quality. I don't do the Steve Huff thing where I make it look all fabulous and this and that and the other. It's just all about the research for me. Just showing people, hey, here's some really cool evidence. This can actually happen. This is fascinating. Now, granted, you're rolling the dice, and yes, you are playing with fire. I've had people ask me, why would you want those things in your home? I want to show you something. Hold on. Her right here. I have to keep her in a plexiglass case. Can you see that?
I sure can.
She's from the 1930s, okay? And she is so dark that got my Celtic sea salt in today. I'm about to encircle her in Celtic sea salt and keep her in that plexiglass case. She's not coming out of that plexiglass case because I don't want to handle her. I mean, she's just too dark. I mean, she's a lot like the Annabelle doll. She definitely she's been used in several satanic rituals, and like a lot of them. And it's a trip. There's a phenomenon that goes on with her. She doesn't like her picture taken, and the very first time that I tried to take her picture, the entire picture was black. I couldn't believe it. And it even said, the one guy that I buy a lot of my occult items from, he even said in the listing, he said it took him 15 tries pictures of this doll to even list it. He's really cool, and I totally believed everything that he said because I'm a repeat customer of his. I've bought numerous objects from him. So, of course, the very first thing I tried when I got her was I tried to take a picture of her, and literally the whole photo is black. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. Now, since I have taken her picture, but I actually did a live stream about 3 weeks ago, and during the live stream, I asked her via EVP, I said, why don't you like your picture taken? And clear as day, you can hear her say, because it is terrible. She thinks it's terrible. I don't know. I can't tell you that, but that's what she told me on the DR60.
There's some people asking, is it dangerous to have the doll in your home where your family is? Has it caused any problems?
Actually, no, it hasn't. Um, like as far as people would, that's one of a common misconception. People would probably think that I've got cabinet doors slamming shut and poltergeist activity going on here and there, and no, it's nothing like that because I take very, very heavy precaution. I keep these items away from my family. They stay in my man cave where no one is allowed. My children are not allowed in there. And if I deem an item to be too dark, it gets encircled in Celtic sea salt and goes in a case. And that's that. And basically, one day I'm going to end up opening up my own haunted museum. That's my ultimate goal.
Speaking of museums, we just booked an investigation with Steve Hummel's oddities.
I know him.
Yeah,
I know
we're
him.
going to go to the thing he's doing January 20th over there in Moundsville, and we're actually going to investigate the Sanford building afterwards. So
Man, he's an awesome individual. He's in my haunted objects and artifacts group, and he has some of the coolest shit. I actually won the bassinet that he auctioned off just recently for $20. I was the only one that bid on it. Couldn't believe it.
hmm.
Getting a really cool object from him, and I'm going to be placing one of my haunted dolls in that bassinet display. It's going to be really, really cool. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about Steve. Great guy, and you're gonna have lots of fun. And I would be a liar if I said I wasn't envious and jealous. I'm so jealous. I want to go to his museum so bad.
Well, I've never had much experience with haunted objects. Primarily, it's been, hauntings of homes, buildings, the land, similar stuff like
Right.
that. And I want to know more, about the haunted object thing. So hopefully I'll get, some education when I go there. And it's going to be an interesting experience, to say the least.
Right on. Yeah, you're gonna love it, man. It's a whole new world. Now, don't get me wrong. There are those frauds that go out to the Goodwill and buy a doll and make up some fantastical story about it, and try and sell it and say haunted, paranormal, put it on eBay and try and make bukus of money off of it. That's why I only get any of my items from 3 individuals. They're the only ones that I trust. And to be let down by anything that I bought from any of these three individuals. So my collection has gotten quite large. It's not as big as Steve's. Of course, he's got a museum. I'd say I'm probably up to about I don't know 50 or 60 different objects right now. But it's become a fascination of mine. I'll add you to the group if you want to. I mean, just if you want to learn about it. Cool stuff in
No
there.
problem. I'll check it out. I admin probably like half a dozen groups, and I have like so many pages of stuff. It's hard to keep up with everybody's stuff that they add me to and want me to check out. So
Right,
definitely
right.
add me, but if I seem like a stranger, don't take offense to it because I am insanely busy.
Oh no, man. No, I won't take offense. I mean, there's lots of people who go in there and just they're straight lurkers, and that's cool. I'm cool with people being a lurker, or if you just go in there, check it out, and only see it one time, that's fine. You know, it's not gonna hurt my feelings none. It's actually a fairly active group. It's actually
Nice.
my favorite group that I run. I run four groups. Yeah, four. And it's my favorite one by far right now. Anyway,
So aside from objects, where do you do your research? You do a lot from home, I'm going to assume, but do you go to locations? And
yes, I do.
if you do, what's your favorite, most active location that you go do research at?
Locally, Ernestine and Hazel's here in Memphis. It is a building in downtown Memphis that has a lot of history. It started out as a church, 1800s, and in the early 1900s, it's turned into a pharmacy, like a like yeah. And there's actually a famous pharmaceutical, I forget the name of it, that was actually developed there. It's actually still got the little pharmacy drawers when you walk in. Right now, it's a dive bar. Okay. Ernestine and Hazel's sundry store, still to this day. And in the 1940s, Ernestine and Hazel bought it, and it was a sundry store on the bottom floor. Ernestine's husband, Sunbeam, he was a local club owner down on Beale Street. All these big famous acts come down because Memphis is known for the blues. You get acts like Ray Charles, you know, just all the biggest names as far in that genre. Now, back in that era, those guys were like the 1940s rave kids, if you will. You know, they like to do the after parties.
Hmm.
Well, Ernestine and Hazel's was the after party spot, and it was a brothel on the top floor. So when the club would close down on Beale Street, Sunbeam's Club would close down at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or whatever. The musicians would all go over to Ernestine and Hazel's and party the weekend away. Stax was the house band. Elvis Presley got arrested right outside the front door. Mick Jagger wrote the song Brown Sugar about his experiences there. Um, Sean Penn has shot scenes of 21 grams there. There's been several motion pictures filmed there. I actually have an antique lighter on my nightstand over there. Movie, I forget the name of the movie that came out of the rooms upstairs. One called the Red Room and one's called the Black Room. It came out of the Red Room when it was set up as a movie. I walked in. It was really weird. I was up there investigating, and they call me the ghost guy up there, the guy that works there. Walking in with my backpack, and I said, "Hey, man, you know, I'm going to go upstairs and do my thing." He said, "Okay, just stay out of the Red Room. They're shooting a movie up there." And I was like, "Oh, okay, no problem." I go up there and I go into the Black Room, which is right next door to the Red Room. Well, I noticed that the Red Room had a padlock on it, and I was the only one upstairs. It was on a Sunday night. That's my favorite night to go because I can go up there when the business is open. Okay. I can have no noise contamination whatsoever. I've actually done a real deal lockdown there. I mean, well, I called a lockdown. I shouldn't have said that. I sound like Zach Bagans. But a real deal investigation there. We paid $350 to have that place for 10 hours, I believe. And I will never forget that night as long as I live. Ray Charles's piano is still in the Ray Charles room. They call it the Ray Charles room. That was the room that was designated for him when he would go there and shoot up heroin and screw prostitutes after he would get done playing Memphis. Because that's what he did. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Ray with
I don't think so.
with Jamie Foxx. Well, you should watch it sometime, and it's a very good depiction of what Ray Charles's life was like. Now, it doesn't show him at Ernestine and Hazel's, but the guy was a hardcore heroin addict, and he was a ladies' man, and he did step out on his wife quite a few times because there's a stairwell on the outside. It's a fire escape on the backside of the building, and at the bar. It's still to this day, it doesn't work anymore. But when Ernestine and Hazel were running the place, all they had to do was press a button and an alarm would go off upstairs, letting the guys know that one of their wives had come walking through the front door and basically was about to catch them. And so what they would do, holla, say whatever girl they were with, go running down the fire escape and get away. I mean, the place is absolutely crazy. It's got murder, suicide, sex, drugs, blues. There's been, I believe, 4 murders there, 5 murders. There's been 3 suicides. Yeah, like 4 murders and 3 suicides that I know about there. Side. Last owner, his name is Russell George. It happened 4 years ago. He was, I guess, he's told me over the ghost box. I asked him why he did it. He took a shotgun and blew his brains out in the upstairs office. And I've actually been in that office, and there's still blood. It's like a hardwood floor. See where the blood is soaked into the hardwood, like it's not like real apparent, but you can tell that there was blood there at one time.
Do you know what you should do if you ever go back?
What?
I have a couple investigators in my group that have their law enforcement officers, and they bring in UV lights, and sometimes we use full spectrum UV lights. And I had a buddy that had one, and you shine the UV light on it,
Right.
and it'll illuminate it. So
Right.
you can do that. You can.
Oh no, I have done that.
Okay.
I've got UV flashlights, and that's what I did because when dude was telling me about it, I was looking at it and I was going, man, I really can't see it, but hold on, let me get my UV flashlight, and I shined it on it, and boom, man, it was like blown away by it, dude. Seriously. I mean, he took his life because he had cancer, and he told me over the ghost box, clear as a bell, because he couldn't breathe anymore. It was a very sad story. And another friend, she got her throat slit in one of the bathtubs. And I got a comment on YouTube today, box session. They're in the black room. It's a YouTube video that I have up, and so this dude made a comment, and he said, "Clear as a bell, don't go in the bathroom." He said, "What's up with the bathroom?" And I said, "That was them telling me about that the prostitute got her throat slit, murdered in that bathtub." Because when you walk into the bathroom, it's got those old bathtubs. It's really, really crazy. Like, I've never seen anything like it before in my life. bathrooms upstairs. Into a public restroom, you expect to see urinals, regular toilets, porcelain bathtub. Well, anyways, lots of EVPs in that particular bathroom. Prostitute who lost her life in there. There was another prostitute impregnated by John, married, and to stop from keeping the baby upstairs. Wesley, I'm on the phone. Mom. Okay. Sorry
We're
about
about
that.
ready to wrap it up, so go ahead and tie it, finish what you were saying. We'll go ahead and let you plug all your stuff. And
Oh, okay, yeah. Anyways, he pushed her down the stairs and killed her and the baby. And the very first time I ever walked into that building, when I was walking up the stairs, I felt a spirit in my body, and it left me with vertigo for about 5 minutes. It was crazy. One of the craziest experiences I've ever had. I've caught lots of EVPs on that stairwell as well. It's insanely haunted. I've heard blood curdling screams there, like disembodied. Um, People go running down the hallway like Carl Lewis style, like boom, 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 and I'll look and nothing's there.
it's
Insane
crazy.
place, insane. But
Sounds
it's
like
my favorite look.
it sounds like it's full of not only really crazy history, but just all kinds of different tragedies and other types of things. Will kind of get an interesting
Oh, dude,
mixture.
they're still digging up heroin needles from underneath the baseboards from like the 1940s.
Wow, doesn't sound very sanitary.
No, no, it's not. No.
All right, buddy. Well, an hour goes by fast. I hate to cut you short, but I'm gonna go ahead
Yeah, that
and
did
wrap
go
this
by
up.
fast.
I really appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate everybody that takes their time, to not show interest in the show and want to come on and help me out to do an episode. It was interesting talking to you, and hopefully it leads in to other interesting, things as far as ITC research and maybe possibly
Right.
other things.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on. I thoroughly enjoyed it for sure.
Cool. Why don't you verbally tell everybody where they can, check you out, find your work? I got you in the description in the cards, but go ahead and tell them too.
Oh, okay. Well, you can visit my website at entityvoicesevp.com. And that is my main website. You can search me out on YouTube. Entity Voices Paranormal. That's my YouTube channel. My Facebook is facebook.com/entity voices EVP. That's my URL.
Awesome. Well, man, like I said, I appreciate coming on the show, and hopefully, we'll have you on sometime in the future. I'm booked up like 3 or 4 months in advance, but once I get through about everybody I know, I'm sure that I'll get to the
For
end of
sure.
them at some time. I'm going to try to do a paranormal roundtable with certain types of people that specializes in certain things. So just keep in touch with me. Keep connected on Facebook at least, and we probably will try to have you back on. And if you're interested in trying out some of my ideas to test some of the hypotheses that we have in the ITC field, let me know.
Right. No, yeah, most definitely. I will definitely keep in touch, and it was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on, and I look forward to doing it again. And I would definitely love to test out anything and everything that you definitely.
All right, man. Well, you have a good night, and I'll talk to you again soon.
All right, you do the same. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You all have a good night as well.
All right, there you have it, folks. Wes King of Entity Voices Paranormal. He does some interesting things. He goes on the let's shall we say fringe of the paranormal. Maybe a risk taker, maybe someone that might be a little bit serious about it, but I can relate to that. I I definitely want to know, and I definitely have some dark curiosities myself in the paranormal field, so I can definitely relate to that. Check him out on YouTube. Check him out on his website, as he's stated in the interview. You can check out all of that information in the info of this, or description rather, in this video, or in the cards up on the screen in the top right part of the screen. Stick around. We're going to shout out some of our patrons, and we're going to go to the social screen here. If you want to support Interface Death and the Necromancer live show, there's a way to do it and get rewarded. You can go to our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/support Interface Death. The link is in the description. And you can get rewards for just donating maybe like $1 a month. And you can get cool rewards, and there's other tiers you can check out. So if that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and check that out. Follow the Necromancer Show on Facebook. Check out Interface Death's Twitter and Instagram. There's a whole bunch of cool photos that we put up on Instagram, so I definitely want you to check that out. And for our patrons, we have 2 steady ones. We have Matt Benton, that's still pledging each month, and Clay Borman. And speaking of Clay Borman, we're going to have his teen paranormal group come on the show next Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. I'm looking forward to this because I've never heard of a gentleman taking time out of his life to educate teenagers in a very informative and intelligent manner as far as it comes to investigating the paranormal. I think there's a lot of interest now, so if you got teenagers out there breaking into places, doing a whole bunch of stupid stuff, but you have people like Clay Borman say, hey, wait a minute, this is what you do, this is the proper things you should do, and we're going to have the teen group on the show next week, so that should be interesting. I want you guys to tune in for that. Okay, thank you guys very much for watching each and every week. I very much appreciate it. You guys support me, and I love that you guys take time out of your lives to do that. So check out interfacedeath.net. There's a new store and a whole bunch of new stuff on the website. Please go check that out and at least subscribe so you can keep up to date with us. We'll see you next week at 9 p.m. on the Necromancer Show. You guys have a good evening. Stick around for some promo videos, and I'll see you next time.
Been associated with the school?
We got the school in March of 2017, so